607. Thank you, Taya, and the board office of One for making sure that we record this meeting. Hope that everyone is well and in good health. Before we start this meeting, I'm not typically someone who wants to engage in things that are outside the community board, but I ask that everybody, keep your thoughts and your optimism for Ukraine and the situation abroad. A war somewhere is catastrophic everywhere. So let's just keep that at the top of our mind. With that being said, let me go to, I'm sorry, give me a second. I need to grab my copy of the agenda. Give me 1 second so we can be in order. Continue talking about coffee.
We were talking about not coffee, something else.
Horn and Hard Art.
Right.
So my Horn and Hard Art memory is when I was young and went to summer camp. All in summer camp, summer camp food is typically bad or kids don't like it, whatever. And the whole summer, kids talk about like where they want to go. They want to go to Carvel or this or that after summer camp. And I was like, no, I have to go to Horn and Hard Art. So that was my thing. I love them.
That's real food.
What?
Yeah, that was real food.
Macaroni and cheese and cream spinach.
But there are a fair number of people here who weren't bored when that was still open. So
I like chock full of nuts.
Yeah.
All right. So I welcome everyone to the meeting. I serve as chair of community board. Thanks to the members. I am Lenny Singletary. Our first vice chair, or actually our vice chairs are Leonard Jordan, Barbara Zala-Gringer, Jessica Thurston serves as our secretary. And with that is the introduction of the members of community board 2. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda? Do we need to make any changes or modifications? I don't see any. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Zala-Gringer, seconded by Mr. Jordan. Is there anyone who is opposed? Is there anyone who abstains? So it's unanimous. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from January 2022?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any noted corrections or any edits? Okay, great. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 2022.
so moved.
Mr. Meyer, second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, either raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, so moved. In line with some of our new protocols based on feedback that we've received, we're going to take a moment to see if there are any topics that we may not have covered on the agenda that the public would like us to communicate on. And if so, please, if you would unmute yourself, if you are from the public, introduce what your concern is and we can address this. For board members, if you would, I'd ask that you would hold that to other business at the conclusion of the meeting, but this is for public members who are not members of community board 2. Okay, great. Hearing none at this time, we'll proceed with committees for action. First committee this evening to present is land use. We'll turn it over to Mr. Carlton Gordon.
Thank you, Chair Lenny Singletary. This is for the Landmark Land Use Committee. I just want to acknowledge our former fellow committee member and still current board member Cyril Scala, who has not only received a lovely article in the Times, has also received a New York One cable news profile, and you may want to look out for that. Okay, again, this is the Landmark Land Use Committee that we just met a couple of weeks ago. And I want to thank again our co-chairs, Daughtry Kostarfin and Irene Janner. Our secretary is Karen Johnson, although this particular month, Brian Howland did the minutes and stepped in for her. And thank you very much. I don't know if you're out there, Brian, but thank you very much, Brian Howland, for stepping in. All right, the first one is for committees. These are certificates of appropriateness. First one is 316 Clinton Avenue in Clinton Hill. And this one is a number of quite a bit of work. It's a multifamily residence, and they want to do some work on about the second floor, filling in the overhangs. They're doing want to do some on the rear extensions to align with the first story as well. And let's see what else do we have here. Yes, and they want to also fully renovate the first floor. Will be connected with the cellar as well. We discussed this one with community groups, the Citizens for a Responsible Neighborhood of Clinton Hill and Fort Greene, also the Society for Clinton Hill, for Clinton Hill and the Fort Greene Association. And while there were some concerns that were expressed, they also agreed that the work was good and it was needed. And we looked at it as well, of course, and we felt that the work was good. It will improve the buildings as a whole, and we voted this one 9-0-0. Our second item is 294 Clermont Avenue in Fort Greene. And that one was basically for the window replacements and for work on the balcony at the rear. We basically liked this one. We had no problems with it from the community groups. We had no problems with the work that was being proposed. Basically, the work was was good and needed, and we voted for this one also 9-0-0. The next one is 300 State Street over in Boerum Hill. On this one, and I should make note that this particular 300 State Street particularly is noteworthy because it's on the one of those National Register historic places, which sometimes you'll see on certain of our buildings throughout our board. And this one is on the National Register of Historic Places, when it's very nicely historic building. The work they wanted to do was to do some work on the front entrance doors leading into, up the steps leading into the building. And there was basically be a new entry assembly will be done for the building. And it'll be basically similar to that at 302 State Street. So we looked at it, matched, and it's a nice blend and it's appropriate. Boerum Hill Association had no problem with it, and we voted for this one 10-0-0. Now the last one is 181 Dean Street, also in Boerum Hill. This one, there was some concern about any extensions into the rear, because there's work being done at the rear, but there was going to be no work that would affect the lot line. There were a couple of neighbors were concerned about, will it affect their properties? We felt, however, that the work at the rear would not affect the properties. It's work at the garden level. There was at the extension, and the construction will be, be additional work at the ground floor and at the second level. Let's see what else yes. And we felt basically that the work was good. And we voted for this one. There was some concern, like I said, there were some concerns, but we did vote for this one 8-2-1. We still approved it. The work is rear, especially in the rear windows, will be fixed as well. And it was work that it could go along with, and we agreed to it, and we voted for it Boerum Hill Association didn't have any real problem with it, and we voted for it 8-2 to 1. So we approved all 4 items, and we asked for your approval of all 4 items.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Is there any concern with taking all 4 of the items presented, or does somebody have a desire to pull an item out?
I would like to talk about 181 Dean.
Yeah, we'll definitely have an opportunity to discuss the motion. I'm just curious, is it that anybody has a concern with voting on all 4 items, or do we want to pull any particular item out?
I want to pull out 181 Dean.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve 316 Clinton Avenue, 294 Clermont Avenue, and 300 State Street.
So move.
Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Zala Gringer. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, either raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to accept the committee's recommendation for 181 Dean Street. Mr. Flanoy, second, Ms. Fibers. Is there any discussion on the motion? Ms. Fibers?
Yeah, hi. I reviewed some of the material, and it seemed from what I read that it was stated that historic material would be used on the back of the building, and it's historic wood. I guess, old wood that's from some barns or, something. So it's historic wood, but it doesn't fit in historically to the context of the neighborhood where the buildings were built with brick and stone and things of that nature. So I'm concerned about the back of where they say it's historic wood.
Wood does not, you try to preserve what you can. When we talk about historic materials, usually you're talking about brick and stone, especially, let's say, like, what am I thinking of? The, sidewalk facing, those are the kind of things that are, or iron. The wood itself, there was some concern about renovating of the wood, but it felt that, again, that the work has to be done. You can't really, you can do a little bit of work, but especially if in the exterior, you really can't, it cannot be maintained indefinitely, even though it may be, been there for quite a while. So it's work that had to be done. There is there is one of the things they were applying for was an all wood rear on the windows, and they want to do it. And again, you really can't, your window frames particularly have to be maintained, you try to maintain this for as long as possible, but you can't really keep it indefinitely. So if it has to be changed, it has to be changed. You can't keep it, for a century or more. It just will not work, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks to me from the picture that it's really an extension that's being built of wood. So it's new wood. It's not that they're trying to keep the historic wood that's historical. It looks from the picture, from the diagram that we're given, that it's new wood. And it does, even if the wood itself is from is old wood or whatever, it's a new part of the building. It looks like an extension on those levels for half the house. Those could be done in brick or stone or other materials that would be more historic in nature to the historic neighborhood, which was built in like the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s. They weren't doing wood that looked like from barns, It was stone or brick.
Well, we were sure that it would not be any significant extension. Again, it's difficult to really try to maintain, anything that is deteriorating. Except you try to maintain, we try to work with, let's say, you could say historic materials or historic fabric, rather. Historic fabric, let's say steel, or not really steel, but old iron work. If it can be maintained, we try to see if that can be maintained. Historic fabric, sidewalk materials, sometimes we try to see if we can maintain those. This one just, we could not, we felt that it still could work with some, I won't even use the word renovation, but with some work so that it will last. And we felt that this one could work.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the committee's recommendation, either say aye or raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Committee's recommendation is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now up to item number 6 on the agenda, committees to report. We'll start with the Economic Development and Employment Committee.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. Hi, Bill Flinoy, Chair of the Economic Development and Employment Committee. I want to recognize my co-chair, Denise Peterson, and my secretary, Catherine Gilman. We had a meeting on February 1st. At that meeting, I wanted to review also, just very quickly. At that meeting, I presented it to the full board. Basically, the Brooklyn Navy Yard's reopening their employment center for in-person Tuesdays and Wednesdays. They're going to be bringing in union panels starting in March, which is in one day. They're also doing their adult training program, and they're also doing the Brooklyn Navy Yard is doing internships for colleges and high schools. Okay. Since then, I've actually had a board meeting with the CLS, bid on 2/18, and I'll go over this particulars. I'll give a full report to the board if they want to distribute it to everyone else. But I'll go really quickly. As far as the operations, they currently have planted 15 trees throughout the bid, Fulton Mall, Metrotech, and Court Street, Livingston. The public space, they're currently planning to expand the shared street network at Bridge Street, Elm Street, and also Hoyt Street. They're doing renovations throughout the bid as far as lighting, debris, and also pedestrian. They also added some pedestrian counters to actually monitor how many pedestrians are actually currently using downtown since COVID. But these are some interesting items they brought up. Residential rentals. Currently right now, a studio in December of 21, a studio is going for $3,159. That's an increase quarter over quarter of 1.9%. Year over year, that's an increase of 43%. A one bedroom in downtown Brooklyn is going for $3,827. That's a 2% increase quarter over quarter, a 29% increase year over year. A 2-bedroom apartment in downtown Brooklyn is going for $5,290. That's an increase quarter over quarter of 3.4%, year over year of 29%. As far as the developments that are going on right now in downtown Brooklyn, there's currently 15 projects under construction, 27 projects are in the pipeline, and since the upzoning, 127 projects have been completed in downtown Brooklyn. Population growth in downtown Brooklyn is up 67%. Okay. Housing in downtown Brooklyn is up 73%. Total of 14,000 housing units have been completed. occupancy rate right now in downtown Brooklyn is 92%. In addition to that, right now, job and business growth in downtown Brooklyn is actually up 48%. Private sector is actually at 6,200 jobs as far as added. Office space is up 64%. A total of 3,650 businesses are now have been added to downtown Brooklyn. I want to get a little more detail because that's a high number. I want to see exactly what they are. The media sector is up 175%. Okay. Jobs for the media sector is up 210%. What the media center is about is software, gaming, application development, web publishing and development, data processing, database development, motion picture, and sound recording. So that's what's going on in downtown Brooklyn right now. I'll give the full report to the board. I'll go on. It's quite a few pages. I don't want to take up too much time. I just want to hit the high points. That's my report, Mr. Singletary.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that thorough report. And
Sorry. I'm sorry. One more item. I apologize, sir. Yes, tomorrow. Okay, we're going to have all the bids come to the Economic and Development Committee to basically present to us changes that have occurred year over year. We had them come to our committee last year and tell us what they were looking to do year over year. Now they're going to come in this year and also tell us what's going on in downtown between all the bids. We use that information to actually work with the statement of district needs. We're going to determine what's changed, what they still need, and how we can help them out. Sorry, Mr. Singletary, I wanted to mention that.
No problem. No need to apologize. It's fine.
Now I'm done.
So again, thank you for that presentation. I'm sure the board members as a whole would look forward to any of the additional information that you want to present. I appreciate you giving a concise report, but the information that you shared, I think, is very helpful, but it also tells you, the impact of the upzoning and how it's having a direct impact, particularly from when you have statistics to support that change within our district. So it's a lot that we should keep our eyes on and be attentive to. Next committee to report this evening will be that of the Finance and Personnel Committee. Turn it over to you, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Singletary. Good evening, everyone. My name is Leonard Jordan, and I'm the chair of the Finance and Personnel Committee. And I want to thank the committee and also all of our members for all the hard work that they've done over the past couple of months. The committee, we met actually on February 24th. Committee discussed the fiscal year 2022 reconciliation budget, the reconciliation of our budget for 2022. And we also approved some expenditures for some materials for the office and for the staff. We're just going to be ramping up the staff soon, matter of fact. Although we have not received the approved CB2 budget from OMB for 2023, we did discuss that, and we also created a budget for fiscal year 2023. Now, when we receive the OMB budget, we'll see how far we're apart from them, or we might be right on the money. And then we will present that, as we always do, to the full board in April or May, in the general meeting for April or May. Also, that's what we discussed at that meeting. That was just about it. Also, breaking news, and this is hot off the press. So because of we had some delays because of staff transitions at Borough Hall and actually in some other city agencies. And with job postings and approvals and things like that. And we wanted to make sure we were in compliance with our bylaws. So I'm pleased to share with you that sometime this week, we should be sending out a notification to all board members for a special meeting to not only have a small Q&A of the finalists for the district manager position. Now, this will be held off-site, and it will be an in-person meeting. Our bylaws do not really address us having a vote virtually. So that was one of the other things. And then we had to secure a place for it also. This will be a closed meeting for board members only. We'll have a short, we'll introduce the candidates, give a little background of them, and then have them say a few words. And then also there'll be a short, small, a short Q&A session, for each candidate. And then the board will vote on, which candidate that they would like to serve as the district manager. So that should be going out this week. We're trying to shoot for the third week in March to have this special meeting. And it has to be on a day when it doesn't conflict with any other committee meetings also. So I don't want to announce a date right now and have it go into the record, but that's what we're shooting for at this point. So that's about the end of my report. And I'm open for any questions, Mr. Singletary.
Sure. Ms. Thea Thompson Manning.
Yes, I want to know, is this generally how district managers are chosen by going before board members, asking questions, and then having a vote?
Yes, that's how it's written in our bylaws, and from we talked to some of the people that were on the committee when Mr. Paris was hired, and that was, I think, back in 2003 or something like that, and that's the process that they went through. Yes. Okay.
This will be a call vote, or just raise their hands, or do you know how it's?
No, it will be. We conducted a vote like this before when we had more than one person running for an officer position. So it'll be a handwritten vote, and you just put your name on it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So it's like a closed ballot. No one will see how you voted.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Let me just make a point there. As you're voting, no one will see how you vote, but at the end, when the tally is complete, that will then be posted so that everyone knows that there was full participation from the members who were in the room. So I just want to just make a little point there. Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Okay, thank you.
Next committee to report, Health, Environment, and Social Services.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brandon Smith. I'm the Chair of Health, Environment, and Social Services. I believe I've got my co-chair, Nicole McKnight, on the line tonight, and my secretary, Jessica Thurston. We had a great meeting back at the beginning of the month on the first Wednesday, staying with our theme of the year of climate change. We welcomed Richard Day, Outreach Coordinator from Curbside Composting, as well as one Betty Feibush from the Brooklyn Solid Waste Advisory Board for an amazing discussion about sanitation and waste and those pickups of the composting. There were a lot of interesting facts that you could find from looking at the YouTube about what we've discussed, but the one that really stood out to me is just that in the big picture of this is that the city has signed on to this goal to go zero waste by 2030, and they've made virtually no progress towards getting there. And what can we do to help move the ball forward is a real question that we spoke about at the committee. And one thing that's going on, and something that we'll have an opportunity to address when we have district needs later in the year, is that I know it's not the sexiest item, but if they can increase the pickups that they do for those composting from just once a week, people were talking about how just the once a week causes the bins to get really, I think the word gnarly was used, but the issue with it is something that we could really play a role in, and we had some really interesting other items to discuss about composting. We had another fair slate of liquor licenses, only 4 at this meeting. We approved them all. We spoke about them at the general meeting. And the committee also heard a proposal from one of the board members who attends our meetings regularly, Ms. Latrell Masso, who has been very instrumental in putting together a proposal about a health fair that the committee could help do in a later point this year. May have heard me reference it at prior executive committee meetings, but at this meeting, we actually took a vote to endorse that concept. And now we're waiting to hear what will be the next steps with respect to that fair and whether we can get started on planning it. So we had I think that's about everything that we discussed at the meeting. Yep. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Smith.
Brandon's called the board, and I just wanted to, I read that Mayor Adams now wants to cut the budget for composting. I don't know if you've heard that or have any details or heard anything new about that.
So with all due respect, I appreciate that update, but the question should be geared towards the meeting that they just had. I don't know that was a topic that was discussed. So it might be unfair for Brandon to try to give a response.
Oh, I'm just, yeah, I'm not pushing it.
Yeah, but I'm sure that'll come up again. So thank you for staying in tune with that. And I saw by the heads of many of the colleagues on the phone, I think people on the meeting, people are too attentive to that decision. Next committee to report, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Singletary. I'm Barbara Zoller-Gringer, the co-chair of the Parks Committee. My co-chair, Andrew Lastawecki, is also on the call this evening. We had a very informative presentation at our last meeting from Nelson Villarrubia, the executive director of Trees New York. This is a phenomenal organization that works in conjunction with the Parks Department to plant street trees and works with block associations who are committed to care and maintain these street trees. They have a citizen pruner course to teach people how to prune trees, and they work with the Parks Department. They have a lot of leeway. I think they can prune trees as long as they don't have to stand on something. They're really a terrific organization. We have a participant who frequently comes to our meetings who speaks about them, and so we're kept up to date about them. Mr. Villarrubia told us about their volunteer events. They have tree stewardships, working with volunteers to take care of tree beds, planting bulbs. They work with corporate organizations who stage events and provide materials. Their new initiative is a tree planting program in partnership with schools, community gardens, and a variety of other places in the city. And they're also working to present tree stewardship information in classes and classrooms. They have a young urban forester internship, a paid 7-week internship for people going to be seniors in high school. And they're looking for hub space for that program for the summer, just to keep their materials. So if you know of anything, you could let them know. We also had, as you know, our committee had looked at other community boards in the city to see what other committees that focus on parks, what other subject matters they consider under those committees. So we had a robust presentation from our committee members talking about that, and we're going to be doing some more discussion to see if we can present some recommendations when the community board looks at their bylaws and considers whether there should be any changes in the jurisdiction, so to speak, of the matters that the various committees look at. If anyone has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Barbara.
Sure.
Next committee to report is Transportation and Public Safety.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sid Meyer. I'm the chair of the committee. We don't have a co-chair, but John Quinn takes the notes, and Taya provides excellent information, backup, and assistance. And I want to compliment her because I know she's busy on that and many other things, but I want to compliment the work she does as well. I didn't report last time on the January 20th, 2022 meeting, so I'm going to do a combined report from the January 2022 meeting and the February meeting because they sort of play into each other. But I do want to raise a continuing issue that at the meeting in December, we had a presentation at Applene's Garden, which, as most of you know, was the tragic traffic violence death of a young lady, and the proposal of the people in the area to make a Applene's Garden as a memorial to her. And we had a presentation on that in December. And at the time that we had the presentation, they specifically didn't ask us for any approval. They said that it's in the preliminary stages and they would come back and talk to us later. And as I don't know if most of you know, that there was a meeting last week, the Department of Transportation and some of the people in the community. I don't know if the community board was invited itself. I was not. Okay. And at that, the Department of Transportation announced that the garden, the memorial has been approved and that there will not be anything that will be coming to the community board. And that's a continuing problem that we're having with the Department of Transportation. At the meeting in January, we had discussed having the Department of Transportation present to us on a couple of issues. One was a BQE, one was on open streets, and they originally had said that they would be able to schedule it in the February meeting, and then something came up, and I'm not exactly sure of the reason why they were not able to do that, but they're going to come back to talk to us about that. But the open streets meeting, there's a Willoughby Street meeting on the Willoughby open street that has been problematic. I've been in touch with the council member, Crystal Hudson, on this, and they were trying to schedule a meeting so that we would attend. And I don't know if that's been scheduled yet. Probably every other day I ask her what's going on. This is a continuing problem that the committee has, and the community, I think, has, with the fact that while we may not disagree with that, with Applene's Garden, that the community board and the transportation committee is not being heard. There are issues on Willoughby Street where the community wants to be heard that tend to be issues. The restaurant issues with the open streets have morphed now that they're not going to be permanent facilities. They're going to be like tables and chairs, movable. And that's something that was before the city council. And I'm not sure, again, if it's finally been passed. I know that it was discussed and it's going to the committees that discussed it. But those are issues that the community boards need to be involved in. And for some reason, even though the new transportation commissioner has said that, these are areas I want to hear from the community, it's been it's been an issue that we're continuing having. And it was an issue that came up in January, and we discussed how we can get the Department of Transportation to be more responsive to the community board and the community, and you can interchange those if you want to, but that's a continuing problem. At the January 20th meeting, we discussed the police, and we tried to do an agenda, and we invited the police to come to us and discuss public safety issues in February, and they did that. We had presentations, one presentation from one of the police departments, and one of the from the 88, and the 84 was there. We had a lively discussion of what the community sees, what's going on. We had a discussion about the homeless, And we wanted to make sure that the homeless weren't just treated in a criminal way, but we want them treated as the mental health issue that most of them are. But at the same time, it is a public safety issue, as we've seen lately. And it's something that we discuss with the police and that we will continue to discuss with the police, and that the community board and the transportation committee is focused on. We also focused on traffic violence. We are concerned that there, in these communities, we have had significant number of traffic deaths and the traffic injuries, and that it is and should be a major issue. And it's something that we can keep raising at the meeting, and we're concerned about. I'll be happy to answer questions. We've had lively meetings. We will have another lively meeting, and hopefully the Department of Transportation will be there. And I note in the chat that Taya said that the meeting concerning Willoughby Street has not been scheduled yet. And hopefully as soon as we will make sure everyone in the community is aware of it, and we will participate as well. I know, I see that Esther has a question.
So Cindy, thank you for that report. I will add that I've had frequent conversations with Councilmember Hudson, and she has assured me that when the opportunity comes for us to have the meeting, that there will be proper notice and full representation from CB2. I think, you know, I'm speculating a bit, so she didn't say these words, but in our conversation, what I surmised was that some of the challenges that she is actively trying to get Commissioner Rodriguez to the meeting so that he can hear some of the feedback from the community. So I think that's where some of the delays are happening based on his schedule. Ms. Blunt, you have a question? Come off mute.
I guess it's a statement. I know a group of residents from Vanderbilt Avenue met with Ms. Hudson, I believe Monday, because Renee Callamore had a meeting. She calls herself the president of the Vanderbilt Avenue Association. I live on Vanderbilt Avenue. There's no such association, but she's able to get a meeting with Rodriguez. And so I don't understand how an unelected official can get a meeting with Rodriguez, and Ms. Hudson is having difficulties getting a meeting. But anyway, the people who would be most impacted by this garden, that the plaza that they want to build will be right under their window, is never invited to the meetings. That's the co-op on the corner of Vanderbilt and Gates. But I'm not going to spend much time on this. But I just want all the board members to just Google Vanderbilt and Gates Avenue. Just Google and do the map. There's already a garden there. So this is not about a garden that can really be named after this baby. It's not about the garden. It's about taking away. It's about a land grab. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer, thank you for your report. Next committee to report, Youth Education and Cultural Affairs.
Yeah, I'm Betty Flybush, the chair. I was not at the meeting. I'll call on Dorothea Thompson Manning, the co-chair, to tell us who attended the meeting. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I don't have the minutes, but I have a few notes because we had 3 presentations at our last meeting, which was quite a bit. We heard from a representative from BAM, and they talked about the new programs they're going to have for seniors, for teens. They're talking about starting a book club. I believe it was a senior book club. And they're going to have dances. And they also mentioned something about the archives that they have at BAM's. And so I asked that they get in touch with the office, because I think that's something that our committee, you know, they could maybe set it up in a way that our committee could go and look at some of the archives of the people who have been there, who have signed papers, and who have done different things. It was very, very informative. The other one was from an organization called Stoked Mentoring, and they deal with middle school and with high school. The main thing they see, they work with STEM programs, And they seem to tie everything into action sports, like skateboarding and snowboarding, and they teach the children how to put these type of boards and things together. And I think it's just a way of helping them to think, to get along with each other, and at the same time use whatever skills that they have in school they pick up from this activity. They feel this will help them to progress in whatever other things they do in life. And the last presentation was St. Nick's Alliance. I don't believe they worked with students who were in school. I'm a little unsure about that, but the ages were about from 16 to 24. They provide different programs. They have internships. They teach the students how to work in different areas. They also, like I said, I think once they finish with the internships, they try to find them jobs. And I forgot the pay, the pay scale, whether it was minimum wage or a little above, I don't remember. But they just try to help people who don't have jobs, who are young, to learn something so that they can move forward as they get a little older. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Dorothea.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update, the collaboration of the YECA committee. So thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening is the chairperson's report. So a couple of things I want to mention. During the time of our last meeting, I've had the opportunity to take part in a few discussions. And so I've had a chance to meet the new resident association president for Ingersoll. And I'm looking to see if we can build a stronger partnership with Ingersoll and have all of the resident association presidents come out. And so she's going to be, she's really excited in helping us try to get that collaboration going so that they can be at the table and hear information directly, as opposed to possibly losing things in translation. So I was glad to have that conversation. I was glad that she was willing to meet and that we hope more comes from that collaboration. So I'm excited about that. I also had the opportunity to meet with our district attorney, Eric Gonzalez, and we were able to have a conversation about doing outreach and working with our youth in the community to provide them with the resources that they want, not what we think they should have. And it's important because I think in some cases, it is just a knee-jerk reaction to have individuals who are of a certain age or classified generally as adults kind of dictate to our youth, where it's important to hear from our youth, because what the district attorney's office is attempting to do is put our hands around our community, and where we have young men and women who may be on the fence about whether they make a decision that will somewhat hinder their growth for life in a negative way, or make decisions that can encourage their growth for life in a positive way. There are young men and women right now that are on the fence. And the district attorney's office is really leading and spearheading that effort to see how we can, be more active as a community and engage so that we can provide better youth initiatives. Some of you may have seen that the mayor is looking to increase the number of summer youth employment jobs, I think to a total of 100,000. And so you see this collaborative citywide approach to wanting to do the right thing for our young men and women of our community. And I give a lot of credit to the district attorney's office and to DA Gonzalez and his team and his community outreach team for having those conversations now and seeing what we can do collectively about representing and supporting our young men and women of the community. I've also had some conversations with several members of the community. And while it was a great effort led by Mr. Smith when we had our public information session to really talk about some of the resources and programs that are coming to our district to provide support for the homeless community and some of the programs and shelters that are coming. There's another one that is slated to be presented to the district. And there was a request made for Community Board 2 to hold another information session. Remember, these are not public hearings. And so what I've said to the Department of Homeless Services or Social Services is that right now our staff is a little degraded, and we don't have the full strength that we once had. But independent of our size of office, it was my interpretation that the previous meeting that we had really felt like CB2 was taking control of that meeting and having to manage, and Mr. Smith and team having to navigate Q&A. What I said to DSS is that if we do this again, and I'm at this point, I don't really have any reason to think we wouldn't. I would like to collaborate more with Mr. Smith, but offline. But if we do proceed in that direction, they need to take a more active role, right? You're the one that have already engaged the contracts. You've already kind of made the decision. So you should be able to answer for your decision, not us. And so we're happy to be collaborative, informative, put the word out, make sure that we understand what's going on and represent our constituents in the community in an appropriate way. But we need DHS to take the lead. And so those conversations are taking place now. As we learn more, I'll definitely communicate more, and we'll work with the chair, co-chair, Nicole, and the office to see how we can be collaborative in helping DHS take the lead on this information session. So again, more to come there. And then lastly, I had the opportunity to have a wonderful conversation with a young lady by the name of April, and I hope I'm not messing up her last name. I believe it's Somburn. She is the new member chairperson for the Brooklyn Bridge Park Community Advisory Council. And I had a great conversation with her. She's not to be a cliche, but I think her energy level is high. She wants to do well. And so for a period of time, Community Board 2 was not actively engaged with their community advisory council for a number of reasons. And so her argument, well, not argument, she stated her case in such a compelling way that I have decided to be CB2's representative for the council, and we will now be re-engaged and play a part and active and see where that goes, and more to come on that. And I hope to be in a position to provide a report on what takes place there, just as the rest of the members of the board do who serve as liaisons for different councils. I just want to make a point that, many people have reached out, and I'm happy. I really enjoy the engagement of board members, but there are 47 at this current count board members. And in a perfect world, and what I strive to do is get 47 people to be involved, not the same 5 or 6. And so while I appreciate everyone's engagement and wanting to take part, and don't lose that passion, just understand that if I don't necessarily support your desire to represent us, it's because I'm trying to make sure we get full representation so that everybody can participate. But don't change your energy and your passion. Keep it coming, because if the other, let's say 46 say no, I have no choice than to come back to you. So, so let's hope that we get all 47 to get involved. But if not, just know that I appreciate everyone's energy, and I hope that we keep a high note there. Let me pause for a minute, because I think Jessica has a question, or either she's going to correct me on how I pronounced April's name.
No. I just wanted to, I didn't hear the first part. Did you say she's at the park? She at the Brooklyn Bridge Park, or what?
Her actual title is member of chairperson engagement. And she's the chairperson of member engagement for the Brooklyn Bridge Park Community Advisory Council.
Awesome. Thank you. I just didn't capture what.
She seems like she's really committed and engaged, and I enjoyed, having that conversation with her.
That's a great role for her. That's exciting. Thank you.
Yeah. So with that concludes my chairperson's report. As I said, as more things come on board, we'll note that. I do want to amplify a point that Mr. Jordan raised. you know, you probably cannot imagine, you have no idea how much the Finance and Personnel Committee, Taya Muller, and myself as chair want to have a district manager. You have no idea. And I'm hoping that we can get this done, and we will get this done. This is really a little bit of a humor before I have to give Santa Claus my list for Christmas. But that being said, I appreciate everyone's patience and attention to make sure that we get this right. You know, if you think about this, we haven't had to hire a district manager and be in accordance with our bylaws in 20 years. It's a long time. Some would argue maybe too long, but that's a separate conversation. What I will tell you is that when we do have our meeting, and as Mr. Jordan says, it's going to happen soon, I will feel comfortable, very confident that Community Board 2 did this right, did this in accordance with its bylaws, and has received the support of OMB, Borough Hall, and Corporation Council to make sure that we haven't missed anything. We will proudly say that we've dotted every I and crossed every T when we go through this process. So just want to thank everyone for that. With that, I'll conclude my chairperson's report and move to item number 8. Any other committee business? And I would ask, if you do have any business, if you just raise your hand, either virtually or live, we'll go with that. So let me start with, in this order, I'm going to start with Ms. Dorothea Thompson Manning, Ms. Betty Freibush, and then Bill Flanoy.
Yes, I couldn't figure out how to get the other hand up, so I had to use my hand.
I take all hands right now, all
I
hands.
forgot how to do it. I was basing this on the district manager's report. I didn't ask when Mr. Jordan was speaking, but is it possible for you to tell us how many candidates we're gonna look at? Is that possible?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Mr. Jordan, I
Okay.
think, gave a report earlier on that. So let me let him take the floor here.
Yeah, maybe I didn't hear, I'm
No,
sorry.
it was a meeting. I
Yeah.
think you might have had a conflict, so it's okay.
Yeah, and actually, I don't think I did mention it. So we'll have, and the bylaws say we have to have at least 3, and we have 3
Oh.
finalists.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Mhm.
Betty, you're next.
Okay, great. Hi, thank you. So I just wanted to put another spin on some conversation today and in previous meetings about the potential bylaws committee. In addition to the fact that it's a good idea periodically to review bylaws in any organization, we've been finding in our committees, some of our committees have tons of work, some don't have as much. So there's an uneven balance of work. And we always want to be more effective. So by looking at the bylaws and the committees and the topics, we've also been looking at how other community boards combine different topics, to be more even in spreading out the work, and also in having committees that maybe don't meet every month, but deal with a topic, such as, we're always talking about the homeless issue, but it comes up in the public safety, it comes up in social services, it comes up in bunches of things. And now that we're most likely having 4 new homeless shelters, it might be a good time to have a committee that will focus on this, both from the practical, having relationships with the operators of the facilities, as well as looking at policy, as well as, the community engagement. So that's just one example of how, if we look at our bylaws, we can be more effective and responsive to the, changing needs of our communities. So I just wanted to raise my voice on that. Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, I just want to have 2 quick items. One item is just remind everyone that applications for board members have to be in by the 4th. Okay, so anyone who hasn't put in their application for Community Board 2, you have until the 4th of this month. And the other item that I wanted to mention was
You actually have until, I'm sorry, you have until the 4th of March, not February.
4th of March, exactly. No, sorry, not of this month, 4th of March, exactly. Thank you, sir. The other thing I wanted to bring up is Governor's Island. At one point, we used to actually have input as far as the development of Governor's Island, and we're not doing that anymore. Is there anything we can do about getting back involved in Governor's Island, since a lot of our ferries come from downtown Brooklyn, from the park? Is there any way we can get back involved in that? This is an item I just want to bring up.
I don't know that I don't know that the decision to not be involved, well, I'll say it this way, the decision and the level of involvement was not something that's been dictated by CB2. As far as the office is concerned, we do have engagement with Governor's Island, and it is generally driven by the representatives from the office. And so if we will take a look at maybe how we disseminate the information and share that with the exec committee and the full board. But as far as I'm aware, we still have some voice and some engagement with the Governor's Island and their community advisory council. Mr. Gordon?
Thank you, Lenny. I'm just as curious, do we have a contact with the current new board president's office? And have you heard anything from Nan Blackshear?
So I can tell by the look in your face, you're not trying to be a comedian. So let me answer this question in the reverse. Nan Blackshear has moved on, and she has taken another role within the city. She's at the Department of Aging.
Oh.
And so there is a new person, a new role at Borough Hall that is engaging with the community boards. And I'm gonna check my notes. I think her name is Carol Ann Church. So we do have familiarity with Borough Hall.
I've heard of her.
And I could tell from the look on your face, you were not being funny. So I'm gonna let you slide with that one, but it is Carol Ann Church. I think we know who she is.
Yes. Thank you.
Sure. All right, not seeing any additional hands. Let me move on to item number 8, which is other community business. This is where members of the community board or anyone who is not a member of the exec committee may have any questions, comments, or things they want to raise. So does anybody have any comments? I see Mr. John Deuce. I'll call him Mr. Deuce first. Anyone else after Mr. Deuce, just please raise your hand.
Thank you, Chair Singletary. I have a couple of items. Earlier, you heard from Esther Blount about the Vanderbilt Block Association, and I attended a meeting only to discover that I'm also a member of the Vanderbilt Block Association if I live on or near Vanderbilt Avenue. The problem I'm raising for the community board is that the Department of Transportation actually uses these local groups that we don't know anything about their formation, but they're making decisions in our community. Willoughby Avenue was closed off. They're looking to close off Gates Avenue. This is being done locally. I will share with Community Board 2 that the Vanderbilt Avenue Block Association has already had a meeting with the Commissioner of DOT, Yadanis Rodriguez. Vanderbilt Block Association has also met with our borough president. Vanderbilt Block Association has met with the commissioner and our council member and everyone that's involved in closing off Gates Avenue from Vanderbilt to Fulton Street. It's a done deal from the meetings that I attended and from what everyone said, but we don't have any statistics on the impact of closing off Vanderbilt Avenue, Gates Avenue between Vanderbilt and Fulton Street. This is a real issue for Community Board 2, because that in conjunction with Willoughby Avenue were never presented to Community Board 2. The community is not involved. That's a major issue. We also have the sidewalk cafes. That's approved. It did not come before the community board. How do we assert that anything that they do that impacts on the community has to come to the community board so that the entire community has a chance to weigh in? That's our role. How do we make DOT understand that the community board is required before you make any decisions in our community. Vanderbilt Gates Avenue is going to be a major problem for this community as it relates to traffic, because that slip is the transfer point from Bedford-Stuyvesant to downtown Brooklyn. So to make that change is going to be a major impact on the community. Chair Singletary, I wish I could say more than that, other than we have to get DOT to include the community board prior to making decisions.
So John, listen, I thank you for that. You know, while we engage with many agencies, DOT is always the one that kind of stands out, if you will. And we've engaged with DOT on many occasions and through many different chairpersons. And there's ebbs and flows when DOT is engaged and they're not. It is absolutely a concern. I don't necessarily say it's a problem, because I do appreciate when there is community engagement. However, I do have a concern, and it has been a longstanding concern, when the community board is bypassed or usurped from doing what it's been chartered to do as per the city charter, and the engagement. And generally, when there are agencies that participate in that usurpment of the board, it is a concern. So, you know, I will continue, as we have in the past, to engage with DOT and see what we can do to make that process better. And so that at least when decisions are made, it's not an FYI to the community board, or we just happen to find out because we just happen to be strolling down the street or somebody shares information. See if we can get a better collaboration and improve going forward. So thank you for those comments.
I should just add that the commissioner said there is a traffic plan for downtown Brooklyn in response to a question I asked him. And we know nothing about this traffic plan for downtown Brooklyn. I Googled it. I couldn't find anything. So I would ask the board office to follow up with the commissioner and give us the information on that plan and include it in his presentation to the community board. This is actually going to become a worse problem. We have all of these statistics that Mr. Flanoy indicated earlier. That's phenomenal. We asked the city 10 years after we were upzoned to study the impact. That was not done. And to hear that studios go for $2,000 or $3,000, when downtown Brooklyn, before the upzoning, you could rent an apartment for $200 or $300, maybe $600 a month. What happened to all those folk that were displaced from downtown Brooklyn? That's what the study was supposed to determine, so that a course of correction could be planned. That hasn't happened, Mr. Singletary, Chair Singletary. That has not happened. Department of City Planning needs to come back to Community Board 2 and study results of the upzoning.
Thank you, John. Any other comments or questions from non-exec committee members? If so, just raise your hand either virtually or physically, and we'll definitely listen to your comments or questions. Well, next item on the agenda, according to what I have, is I think adjournment, if that's correct. But before I entertain that, I just want to remind everyone, if you have an opportunity, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries is having his town hall meeting. It started at 7, so we're a few minutes late, but it is virtual. And if you have an opportunity to join, please do. As I was receiving multiple text messages from his staff during the meeting, it is virtual through Facebook, and it's actually being televised on different channels. So Optimum Channel 951, Spectrum 1993, and Verizon Channel 47. So hopefully individuals can participate either virtually or through the education and informative networks with the respective cable services. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Fibers, Mr. Jordan, is there any discussion on the motion? I hope not. Everybody get home safe. Have a good evening, and we'll meet soon. Take care.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank you all. Good